Welcome everyone to the class on risk management and derivative. We have already introduced the concept of derivatives in the last class. Probably I can say that it's not like we did some theoretical concept. It's not like I discussed what is future, what is forward, what are options, what are swaps. What I have discussed, I have mainly discussed about the mathematical formulation of how a derivative instrument is being calculated. So we introduced the concept of continuous compounding. So in the last class, we discussed the concept of continuous compounding. So when we talk about the concept of continuous compounding, so while working on the concept of continuous compounding, we use the formula called future value is equal to present value into e to the power rt. So this is the formula what we have used here. This is the formula of continuous compounding. Okay, to determine the future value of money, we use this formula, and to determine the present value of money, I'll use this formula. Fine. Okay, minus rt. So I hope you understood this. So this formula basically derived from the concept of compound interest when your rate of interest changes every second. So whenever your rate of interest changes every second, so the same thing, the same formula which we use here, the same formula what we use here. So 365 into 24 into 3600t. Instead of using like that, we can use this formula. So this is the building block of the concept of derivatives. And in order to work on the calculation of returns on a derivative, we use this formula only. Okay, so you know that 1 year have 365 days. One day means 24 hours. 1 hour means 3600 seconds. So whenever I talk about instantaneous change, because derivative instrument, you can understand they are probably one of the most risky instruments, which itself don't have any unique values. They derive the value from some underlying assets. That's why we call them as a derivative. So when we talk about derivatives and when we try to look into how the rate of changes happens, it happens instantaneously. That's why we use continuous compounding in derivatives. Now going further on the derivative, this formula, what I wrote you for the cost of carry model, this formula which is I wrote for the continuous compounding, the another name of the formula is cost of carry model. This is also gives you the another formulation called cost of carry model. So this by using this cost of carry model, we can determine the theoretical value of forward contract or future contract. Okay, so we to determine the future value or present value, we use this formula. So for non-dividend paying stock, if we have non-dividend paying stock, if we have a stock which does not give dividend, so non-dividend paying stock, non-dividend paying stock, to determine its future value or forward value. So we simply use this formula that the future price, the future theoretical price, that would be the present stock price into e to the power rt. While for dividend paying stock, for the dividend paying stock, for such stocks which give dividend, okay, so because if it give dividend, automatically reduce the cost, then your formula will be S naught minus present value of dividend. You can use this S naught minus present value of dividend into e to the power rt. Okay, or you can write simply S naught e to the power rt minus whatever is your dividend, whatever is your dividend, you can find it value on the maturity minus the future values of expected dividend what you're going to receive in the future minus the future value of dividend. Okay, so I think you would be confused with this what I'm trying to explain you, because I need more discrete data to prove this part whenever I have dividend paying stock. I hope you are understanding that dividend is like a income for the investor. So as an investor, I believe in while studying the portfolio management, you might have understood by this time that as an investor who invests their money in stock market, we either look for dividend or either we look for capital appreciation. Okay, these are the two parameters what any investor look for. Okay, so probably dividend is not something which we should look whenever we do investment in the stock market, because again I believe you know that payment of dividend to the shareholder is not the compulsion for the company. If the company want, they'll give, otherwise they will not give dividend. So those investors who look for dividend as a return, that we call as dividend yield percentage, that we call as dividend yield. So dividend yield is basically dividend paid by the company in 1 year divided by the average price of the stock in 200. Okay, this is called dividend yield. So dividend yield is basically the total dividend paid in last 1 year, total dividend paid in 1 year, paid in last 1 year. This is total dividend paid in last 1 year divided by the average market price of the share, divided by the average market price of the share into 100. Okay, so I hope you know this thing. You should know the difference between dividend yield percentage. You should know the difference between dividend yield and different dividend payout percentage. Dividend payout is nothing but it is dividend divided by profit after tax. This is called dividend payout. Dividend divided by profit after tax we call it dividend payout. So 1 minus dividend payout is called as retention ratio. Retention ratio basically means retained earning divided by the profit after tax. So whatever from the profit, if the company give dividend, that is called dividend. Okay, and the part of earning which is retained by the company is called retained earning. So these things you must be clear about this. So as an investor, what I'm looking for, so either I look for dividend yield or either I look for capital appreciation. So the last problem I believe in the last class, what we were doing, what we did was, I think it was like this. We discussed this question, right? Question number two we discussed. So in the question number two, I only discussed one way of getting the answer. There's another way you can get the answer for question number two. You can see the stock is expected to pay a dividend of 8 rupees per share in 3 months. You can see this question number two, which you already discussed. Again, I just do revision and I just tell you one more method. So dividend of 8 rupees. So the dividend of 8 rupees per share in 3 months time. Okay, so this stock is going to give a dividend of 8 rupees per share in 3 month time. And also it is going to give you again in 3 months and again in 3 months, again in 3 months, again 8 rupees per share in 3 months, and again in 6 months, again 8 rupees per share in 6 months. The current stock price is 420 rupees. The present, so the current spot price is 420 rupees. This is the present spot price. That is 420 rupees. And the risk-free rate of return is 7% per annum. The RF value is 7% per annum. That is 7% per annum. What is the price of 8 month forward contract on the stock? So the total maturity is 8 months. The total maturity is 8 months. The total maturity is 8 months. So the total maturity is 8 months. So the time to expiration is 8 months. Time to expiration is 8 months. Now this question I can do like 2 ways. So what are the 2 ways? Let me just come back. sorry guys, let me just start again. So I'm going to expect a dividend of 8 rupees per share after 3 months. Also, I'm going to get a dividend of 8 rupees per share after 6 months. Okay. So guys, the total maturity is 8 months, right? So what is the time for it to grow? So this, I hope you're understanding, no? Like if you understand like this is zero, this is zero, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I paid you dividend of 8 rupees after 3 months and I paid dividend of 8 rupees after 6 months. So what I can do, I can find the present value of this 8 rupees, right? I can find the present value of this 8 rupees R into T. Okay, and T here would be 3 by 2. 3 by 2. Okay. Or similarly, I can find the present value of this dividend also 8 e to the power minus R 6 by 2. This I can do, right? So that will give me the total present value of dividend. That this I can do. This will give me the total present value of dividend. That is a e to the power minus r 3 by 12 plus 8 e to the power minus r 6 by 12. I can do this, right? Okay, that is a one way. What is the another way? What I can do? The another way I can do 0, 1, 2, 5, 7, 8. Okay, this is 8 rupees. This is 6 rupees. I what I can do, I can find the future value of this 8 rupees. So the future value of this 8 rupees will be 8 into e to the power r 2 by 2. Okay, it will grow for 2 months. Similarly, this I can find a future value. So the future value of this would be 8 e to the power r into 5 by 2. Can you understand this? So what you can do, you can subtract this value from the future value of the stock. The stock present price of the stock. So the present price of the stock is 420 rupees. So the present price of the stock is 420 rupees. So what would be the future value of this cost? Would be 420 into R into 8 by 12. So whatever the total cost of the stock you'll get by using this formula, from this you can subtract this future value of receivable. This is 1 and this is 2. So you can find the you can find the net value of the stock. So you can find the value of the stock after the adjustment of dividend. After the adjustment of dividend, so that would be 420 into e to the power r into 8 by 12. So from this you subtract 8 into r. Then this is 2 by 12, 5 by 12, 2 by 12. Minus 8 e to the power r. 2 by 12 and then 5 by 12. Here everyone. So what I can do, I can take 428e. What is r? R value is 7%. 7.07 into 8 by 12. You can write that as 2 by, okay, leave it like that. Minus 8 you can take common, e to the power. E to the power r also you can take common. So leave it like that. So 0.07 into 2 by 12 minus 0.07 into 5 by 12. Yeah, right. So that will give you the future value of the stock. This is 420 into e to the power. So 8 sevens are 56, 2 decimal, 0.56 by 12 minus 8, AE 7 to the 14, 0.12 by 12 minus e to the power 7 5 are 35, 0.35 by 12. So you can solve this. So this will give you the future value, that is 420 into e to the power. Let's find this value. 0.56 divided by 12. 0.56 divided by 12. So this is e to the power, this into 420, 440 into 0645, 440 into 0625. So this is e to the power, e to the power 0.14 divided by 12 plus 0.35 e to the power 0.35 by 12. That is 2.041331. 2.0 minus sign is there. No, no, minus one is plus, no. If you take in bracket, if you take in a bracket, so this plus, no, these values. Yeah, a minus b minus c, a minus b plus c, right? This will be 2.04041331. So this is your future value is, if you subtract this 440 minus 8 into 16 point. So this 16 into 8 into 2.04. So then minus that 309. So this would be 309.419. Clear, right, everyone? Anyone have any doubt? So I believe the same answer you would have got by another method also. So here I did adjustment on the future value. Okay, if you do adjustment on present value also, I believe you get the same thing, right? Anyone remember future value? So 420 minus 8 to the power, this 3 month, no? So R into minus R into 3 by 12, and then minus 8 e to the power minus 5R, no, 6R, minus 6R by 12, minus 6R by 12, 1 So this is, you can see this is 420 minus 8. Uh, this is e to the power. This already we did in last class, right? Yeah, so this is e to the power minus 0.07 by 4 plus e to the power minus 0.07 by 2. And then this is e to the power 2 into 0.07 by 3. Here, so you try this. I believe you will get the same answer in both the ways. 420 minus 8. This, you solve this. So e to the power minus 0.07 by 4, e to the power minus 0.07 by 4, e to the power minus 0.07 by 4 plus e to the power minus 0.07 by 2. So this is 1.948258, 1.948258. So this is e to the power. This is e to the power. So this is e to the power. This is 0.14 by 3. You can see this. So this is your future value. This is 420 minus 8 into this value. 8 into this value is so 15.58, 15.5860 e to the power, e to the power 0.14, e to the power 0.14 by 3. Okay, you'll get 0.04773, 1.04 double triple 73. So your future value would be 420 minus 420 minus 420 minus 15.82 1.04, that is 423.7339. 423.7339. Here I was getting some other value, right? Here I am getting 309. Okay, there's too much difference I'm getting, guys. Here I'm getting is this value. Hmm. 1 minute. This was 8 months, right? One 420 minus this 404. This is after 3 months, right? After 3 months and after 6 months, right? So somewhere something is a mistake. 1 minute. This is after 3 months. This is after 6 months. And then whole, that is that value multiplied to, this is after 3 months This is 5, this is 2 months, 5 by 12. You should get the same answer, guys, in both the case. Here, then I have to do manually again. 1 minute, guys. Let me check the answer. If I do first the future value, if I just do the future value first, 1 minute, let me just confirm that. So your dividend was 8 rupees. Okay. Your R is 7%. Okay. Then your time in first case, it is 5 by 12, right? 5 by 12 future value. Time in first case is 5 by 12. This is 5 divided by 12. Time in second case, that is 2 by 12. 2 by 12. Okay, so the future value of dividend in first case, that would be 8 into e to the power r into t. This the future value in second case, that would be 8 into e to the power r into t. Correct. So the total is 16.33065. 16.33065. Okay. And then if I find your stock was 420 rupees, right? The stock was 420 rupees. And time here is 8 months, right? 8 months. The future value of that stock was 420 into EXP into R. R is 7% into T. T is this. Now the value of the stock with this minus the total dividend, that is coming 423.7339. 423.7339. Yeah, guys, this is the correct answer, guys. So this is the correct answer. So here I think some mistake is being done. So now let me just check this. This is EX3 R EX3 R into T plus EXP R into T. This is 2.04 into 8 into that. Then 420, right? 420 minus this, right? 403. Then this, so this value, future value of this is 440 minus this 423. This is 440.0645. Yeah, calculation mistake is there, guys. So 440 minus this. So 440 minus 0625 minus 16.33065. That will give you 423.733. Clear? Clear, everyone? So based on this, like guys, last year question paper, you see the last year question paper, you got this question also same like that. Can you see this question? Suppose there is a future contract on share presently trading at 1,000 rupees. The life of the future contract is 90 days. And during this life, the company will pay a dividend of 7.5 rupees in 30 days, 8.5 rupees in 60 days, and 9 rupees in 90 days. Assuming a continuous compounding rate of interest of 12% per annum, you need to find the fair value of contract if no arbitrage opportunity exists. Value of cost of carry, assume 360 days in a year. You got this right? Do you want to try this problem, guys? Anyone, any doubt? Can you try, want to try this problem, guys? Do you want to try this problem, guys? What do you mean by the term called arbitration? Arbitration is a strategy. Basically, whenever we work in market, you know that, right? There would be a possibility of market misinformation. We are living in the world which is 365 into 24 working. Okay, so every second, there in some part of world, some trading activities are going on. Okay, so normally when we talk about trading environment, in the trading environment, we talk about three terms. One is called trading, another one is called speculation, the third one is called arbitration. So basically, in trading environment, we'll talk about three terms. One is called hedging, one is called hedging. The another term we called is speculation. The next term we called is speculation, and the third term, what we use is called as arbitration. Okay. So what is hedging? Hedging basically means risk minimization technique. Hedging basically means you are trying to minimize your risk. Okay. So we believe that the investor who trade in the market, we believe that the investors are risk averse investor. When I talk about investor, when we talk about investors are basically risk averse. We believe that the investors are a risk averse. So at minimum possible amount of risk, the in every investor want to maximize their return. Okay, that's why in portfolio management we study something called Sharpe ratio. We'll study something called trainer ratio, Jensen alpha ratio. So we'll talk about these terms like Sharpe ratio, trainer ratio, Jensen alpha ratio. Sharpe ratio is nothing but your excess return what you get on your portfolio minus risk-free rate of return divided by the standard deviation of the portfolio. Trainer ratio basically means return on your portfolio minus risk-free rate of return divided by the beta of the portfolio. Jensen alpha means the return on your portfolio minus CAPM return. Okay, so these three terms are very important. So whenever we look for a portfolio, whenever we are constructing the portfolio of different stocks together, we prominently look for these parameters, the Sharpe ratio, trainer ratio, Jensen alpha of the portfolio. Even when you look for mutual funds also, so there also you look into all these parameters because that plays very significant. And while choosing the stocks also, within the portfolio, we prefer those stocks which should be negatively correlated. So when I taught you statistics that time, I talked about correlation regression. I hope you still remember. So we always prefer those stocks which are negatively correlated, and thereby what we try to do, we want to overall want to minimize the risk on a portfolio. So calculation of risk on a portfolio, I hope you remember two risk portfolio, three risk portfolio. If I talk about risk on a portfolio, we use the formula W1 square sigma 1 square plus W2 square sigma 2 square plus 2W1 W2 covariance between 1 and 2, while covariance between 1 and 2 is coefficient of correlation between 1 and 2 into standard deviation of 1 into standard deviation of 2. So the overall idea of creating a portfolio is to bring those stocks into picture which should be negatively correlated. Thereby, I can minimize the unsystematic risk on the stock and probably systematic risk or market risk. Anyhow, we cannot able to minimize. So they will always be there in the portfolio. And the factor which is beta, which measures the systematic risk on the stock. So the idea of an investor is always every investor want to minimize the risk, and the risk minimization strategies what an investor follow that we call as hedging. Clear everyone? Anyone have any doubt? So I believe you all are getting clear with this. So normally that's why for hedging purpose only, the people started using derivatives. Okay, the initially the people started using derivatives. No one actually knows the history of derivative from when we are using derivative as an instrument. But initially, derivative was looked as a risk minimization instrument. Initially, the investors used to invest on derivatives to minimize the risk on their overall exposure. So imagine if I'm a farmer and if I'm growing potatoes in my field, okay, and the cost of production per kg for my potato is coming around 11 rupees per kg. Now I have a concern that if per kg my cost of production is coming on an average called 11 rupees per kg, so I just want to make sure that tomorrow when I'll go to the market to sell this potato, I should get more than 11 rupees per kg. If I'm getting less than 11 rupees per kg, then growing that potato does not give any sense. So in order to minimize my risk over the exposure over the potato, what I can do, I can go to derivative market. I can probably go to derivative market, and because my concern is that the price of potato should not fall down, okay, below 11 rupees, because if it go beyond 11 rupees in the spot market, more it go beyond 11 rupees, more profit I can book. But probably if it go below 11 rupees, more it go below 11 rupees in the actual market, I start getting losses, because that is the minimum, that is my threshold of cost of production for me. So probably what I look for, I can go to derivative market, I can take short position on forward contract or short position on future contract, or I can take long put or short call in the option contract in the commodity options over put underlying asset. And thereby what I am looking for, I am looking for minimizing the risk on my exposure. This is called hedging. Hedging is basically a trading strategy where we are working on to minimize the risk on our portfolio. Is this clear, everyone? So once you understood the concept of hedging, the next thing which we need to understand is the speculation. Speculation is all about speculation is all the another term for speculation is leveraging, leverage. So derivatives as an instrument, initially derivative was looked as a hedging instrument. Now many looked derivative as a speculative instrument. Speculation means speculation means artificial demand and supply creation. Speculation or leveraging. It's all about more risk, more return. More risk, more return strategy. More risk, more return strategy. So understand what actually speculation is all about. You need to understand that in the spot market, if you buy any stock or any commodity in the spot market, you need to pay 100% of that money and you get the delivery of that asset. Okay. But in the case of derivative market, if you take an exposure in the derivative market, you don't have to pay the 100% of money. You just need to pay a few percentage of the value of the product. Okay. So by paying that initial margin or initial premium over the underlying asset, you get an exposure over the underlying asset. So whenever what is derivative? Derivative is basically it is a form of trading on some underlying assets where the trading which we will not do right now. The trading will do probably in the future based on the present determined condition. So we can decide the terms of the contract right now and probably in the future we'll continue the transaction. So for that, I just need to pay small token amount, which we called as an initial margin. Okay, so with that payment of the token amount, probably you have taken exposure over the value of the contract. And because of which what happens that tomorrow, no matter what happens in the future, so if you're gonna expire or not gonna expire the contract, that ultimately will depends upon what is the spot price on that day when the instrument is going to mature, and on that what value you have settled the contract, what was the exercise price of the contract. So speculation, how derivative has created speculative involvement, because you need to understand that initially when derivative was there probably in the long back, before probably Gulf War, you can say that that time derivative was only limited to the commodity instruments. Okay, so earlier there was only commodity derivative products were there. Okay, and there the physical delivery used to happen. Okay, And those people, farmers or traders, they used to take exposure on those kind of assets who really have a business, underlying business connected with that instrument or connected with that product. But nowadays what is happening, now we have currency derivative, we have commodity derivative, we have equity derivative, we have interest rate derivative. So what is happening actually in the real market, that you may not have an exposure over the underlying asset, you may not have any business model connected with that underlying asset, but even then many investors take exposure on those instruments, probably by taking an exposure in derivative market. The idea overall is to make a profit. The idea overall is to make return. So if someone, if you get a rumor or if you get the news that maybe oil barrel, so now the oil is right now around $100 per barrel, so probably it can touch to $130 per barrel. If you get a news of that, so what you can do, you start buying the in the derivative market. If you start taking long position over the oil contract, so you are neither an oil company, you are neither some company which use oil as a raw material. You are not someone. You're like, you're nowhere related to the neither the manufacturing of oil, neither the refining of oil, and neither you are a consumer which consume a very large chunk of the amount of oil. But why then you are taking exposure on the oil? Because just believing that the price of oil will increase in the future, or if you get a news that some underlying asset value is going to decrease in the future. Okay, maybe there's some offline coaching institutes are there. It is a public limited company. It is trading on the stock exchange, and you know that because of the emergence of online industry, the offline industry is not going to work. So definitely the stock value of the company will fall down. So what you will do, you start taking short position on that asset. Okay, that the stock of that company. So you are nowhere connected with that company, but even then you're taking exposure because you want to earn return. Either the value of that asset will increase or either the value of that asset will decrease. So you are called as speculators. Speculators choose derivative because in derivatives you don't have to pay 100% of upfront money. You just need to pay the initial margin, and thereby you can get into the exposure of the contract. And nowadays, whenever we talk of settlement also, the settlement happens in derivative market. Those are basically cash settlement. So because of cash settlement, you are not having any obligation actually to take the physical delivery of the contract. So ultimately, it just become some investable product or an asset where you are simply buying or selling, believing it price will go up or go down, and thereby you want to make a profit. That is called speculation. Clear, everyone? So I hope you understood the term hedging, you understood the term speculation. Now the next thing what we talk about is arbitration. Arbitration is all about earning risk-free return. Arbitration is all about earning risk-free return. Imagine if the same asset, imagine if the same asset is trading at two different values in two different places. So then there's a possibility of arbitration. Imagine in Kengeri, just imagine in Kengeri, the petrol is at 106 rupees per liter. Maybe in Koramangala, the petrol is at 103 rupees per liter. So imagine this happens, mismatch in the price. Same asset price in two different market, maybe two different values. Maybe in BSC, when stock is trading at some X value, in NSE, the same stock is trading at Y value. So this mismatch is happening. So what you can do, you can buy the same stock from that index where it is trading at lower value, and you sell the same stock into other index where it's trading at higher value, and thereby you make a profit. That profit is the arbitration. Arbitration happens because if the same asset is trading at two different value at two different places, which logically should not happen. There is a possibility, there is some room of difference in the price that also get adjusted if you do the other, if you bring the other expenses into picture, that won't be very big figure. I hope you are getting it. So maybe you're buying petrol at Kormangla and you want to sell it in Kingeri, so you will make 3 rupees per liter profit. But buying at Kormangla and then doing delivery in the Kingeri, so the 3 rupees per liter profit what you're making, and imagine if you're buying 2 liter, 3 liter, 5 liter, 10 liter, and then you need to include transportation cost, you need to include labor cost, and other things also. If you start accumulating your indirect cost, then if you end up in getting 50 paisa or 10 paisa, then earning that profit also does not give much sense. So it can make some sense if you trade in blocks, if you trade in huge volume. I hope you are understanding. Then a small figure into a very large volume will create a very significant impact. So the purpose of telling you is that in the actual trading environment also there are some instances of the possibility of arbitration, but that does not exist for long time, because again the market will automatically will what you say match each other, and then you have huge hedge fund managers, you have huge a portfolio of mutual fund managers who do block trading, who do high frequency trading, and thereby they try to gain the advantage of this mispricing of an asset, which can happen between the two market, but a normal retail investor could not able to do anything. So arbitration is all about possibility of creating an opportunity where you can earn from the mispricing of the same asset in the two different market, and thereby the profit or the return what you earn is called a risk-free return. I hope you understand it. So here in this problem, what you see, this question which came last year for your senior exam, risk management and derivatives, which tomorrow we'll discuss the question number 5. So here they are talking about this only. So they're talking of fair value contract if no arbitration opportunity exists, and the value of the cost of carry. Okay, so I hope you understood the term arbitration. This term will come a lot in IFM. Okay, so in IFM that this term will come a lot, but generally I hope you understood this term. So we'll do this problem tomorrow. So any doubt, anyone, any question you want to ask? So I hope you are understanding the cost of carry model we are discussing, so which actually is being derived from the concept of continuous compounding. Clear, everyone? Anyone, any doubt? So we'll end the today class now. So probably I'll continue my discussion tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. See you all tomorrow. Bye.